This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the Motorola Droid X, available on Verizon starting July 14th. This is Verizon's latest Android superphone. As you can see, this is one heck of a large phone. This is a 4.3-inch capacitive touchscreen. The resolution is 800 by 480 pixels, slightly larger than the usual 800 by 480. So you gain 54 pixels. Not hugely exciting, but kind of nice. But that does contribute to the height of the device. We'll compare that to Sprint's Evo 4G by HTC, which is 800 by 480, and as you can see, the Motorola is even taller. While we're comparing, we'll take a look at the HD2 on T-Mobile and by HTC. You can see it's even slightly bigger than the HTC. And last, we'll take a look at the iPhone. Quite a bit bigger than the iPhone. So if you're looking for something really teeny to fit in your pocket, obviously this isn't it. This is a pocket computer, though, we'll give you that. It has a fast 1 gigahertz OMAP processor, latest generation of the OMAP processor, with a 3D accelerated GPU. We're going to take a look at some gaming as well. Very large display, fantastic for video playback. Has the usual trio of Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and GPS. GPS works with Google Maps. This does run Android 2.1, so you get spoken navigation in Google Maps. There is no VZ Navigator on board. Wi-Fi supports the N standard, the faster standard. And it has an 8-megapixel autofocus camera that takes 720p video on the back with a dual LED flash that is indeed quite effective. In fact, it can almost white out subjects that are too close when you're taking pictures. It takes great pictures, though. It also takes good video. The camera software is okay. It's not hugely impressive stuff. I prefer HTC's camera software, but nonetheless, the pictures on this are great. And it does look a little bit like a giant point and shoot, especially with the curve coming out here for the lens area. You can see that on the side. Comes out quite a bit for that. Again, HDMI here. Micro USB port. There is no HDMI cable included. So far, output via HDMI on these superphones hasn't been the most impressive experience, though. Got your camera button here. Volume controls over here. The phone has several microphones to enhance voice quality. Got one down here, got one up here, and there's one on the back as well. This is handy if you're shooting video and you want to pick up voice narration or pick up the voice from your subject. So as I mentioned, this runs Android 2.1 here, and you've got some Motorola custom software. Don't worry, it's not MotoBlur, so it's not over-the-top social networking, and you don't have to create a MotoBlur account to use this phone. But the widgets and customizations are probably geared towards social networking. They have their own Twitter client, for example, Facebook plugins. They've got the speed dial widgets here. You can just tap on one of these to select somebody from your contacts to add. And we'll just pick. So, and it shows up there. There is no caller ID for that particular entry, so you don't see a picture, but if you did have a caller ID photo, it would show up over here. Social networking over here via Twitter. The Twitter client that they have is pretty weak. I would go with any of the fine Twitter apps that are available on Android over Motorola's. Of course, you don't have to use it. It's there to use as you like. You've got a little multimedia widget over here for photo and video. Look at some pictures that I shot. And here's control for the music player. Speaker on the back is pretty loud, not very full. It's optimized for voice frequencies particularly. More widgets here, the news widgets, RSS, that kind of thing. And it indicates which screen you're on here as you're switching, which is kind of handy. And then there are shortcuts on the bottom here to make a phone call, to go to contacts, or to look at applications. And there are very few Verizon applications on here. You can download a few from the market, like a media manager for Vcast music and that kind of thing. So it's not mucked up with bloatware, which is great. You have the usual Android Amazon MP3 store shortcut here. The backup assistant is a Verizon product. Got 3G mobile hotspot. If you pay an extra monthly fee, you can turn this into a high-speed wireless hotspot for your notebook computers. This works much like the MiFi, in other words, on Verizon. Got Blockbuster here for renting and buying videos that you can download over Wi-Fi and play. Corporate directory for Exchange, that's a nice little enhancement. It's got an FM radio, so you've got an FM radio application here. And most of the rest of these are standard Android applications, including YouTube, Gmail, Google Talk. We've got Skype Mobile here because Verizon has that partnership with Skype for voice calling, not for video calling, just for voice. And we've got Need for Speed Shift here, demo, game pre-installed. And since Android is not the most impressive 3D gaming platform so far, it's fun to see this because this looks pretty darn good. The 1 GHz CPU on this thing really rocks. The game uses the accelerometer for steering. Graphics quality is pretty good, and the frame rates are excellent, as you can see. Crack the windshield. Now, while we're taking a look at multimedia performance, we're going to take a look at video playback using the gallery application that's standard for Android. We have an 800 by 480 video here. This is actually the Transformers video that came with the HD2, and this has a very high bitrate. So it's pretty challenging for most any phone. Even the Nexus One has trouble keeping the audio and the video in sync. And we'll just move it forward to...
Yeah? How'd you know that?
My dad, he was a real grease monkey. Taught me all about this. I could take it all apart, clean it, put it back together.
That's weird. I just wouldn't pay you for mechanical.
Well, you know, I don't really broadcast it. Guys don't like it when you know more about cars than they do. Especially not Trent. He hates it.
Here's an action scene. So what you have here is an awesome pocket video player, even for high quality, relatively high resolution, higher than 720p kind of video. I think you can manage just fine with this phone. As a phone, you got your dialer here, absolutely immense buttons. Even though it's a touchscreen, some people may not be thoroughly accustomed to that. You just can't go wrong with buttons that size. There is haptic feedback here. There's a proximity sensor to avoid cheek dialing when you're in a call, and obviously it has an accelerometer as well. You've got the usual switch to recent, switch to contacts, and go to your favorite people over here, and a shortcut for voicemail. The buttons down here are mechanical buttons, by the way. Lately we've been looking at a lot of HTC phones that have touch-sensitive buttons, and I do prefer those because they're quicker as long as they work well. But these aren't that bad to use at all. They're pretty easy to press. You've got one for the usual Android search, back, home, and this is the menu button. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. This is the Droid X by Motorola, available on Verizon. This is $200 after rebates from Verizon, and I hear that as long as your contract expires sometime in 2010, you're eligible to get this phone for the new upgrade price. Visit our website to read the full review.